Smiling Friends, Hell of a Boss, and Has-Been Hotel. Truly the trifecta of series with small beginnings that were launched into the stratosphere with popularity. And while some may vocally hate Hell of a Boss and Has-Been Hotel, that doesn't take away from how massively popular they are. Which leads me to ask, underdog stories, who doesn't love them? From Kung Fu Panda, Redline, Naruto, Megamind, and Hot Rod, for the 10 of you who have base taste in 2007 comedy films. Generally, we as a species absolutely adore a good underdog story. There's just something about seeing someone who's at such a disadvantage succeed that absolutely drives us wild. Hell, just about every shonen anime created ever operates on that exact logic, and people absolutely eat it up. Our ancestors were literal primates fighting tooth and nail to survive against off massive-sized animals that could wipe us out in an instant. On a primal level, by the way, unrelated, watch that show, it's really good, which is why we love seeing characters rise and triumph in media. If there's something we love even more than fictional underdog stories, it's when the real thing happens. And who better exemplifies this than three of the internet's biggest animation darlings, Vivziepop, Zach Hadel, and Michael Cusack. While you could argue there are others, I feel these three have the most recognizable faces behind their works. At one point in their lives, each and every one of these artists decided to post a silly animation online for shits and giggles. And from there, they amassed a fan base of dedicated supporters. Which leads me to ask, why the hell is Vivzie so disliked on the internet when she shares an almost identical origin to both Michael and Zach? Just a quick reminder that my analytics say that a majority of you watching haven't subbed yet, so be sure to do that if you like my videos. It's quick and it's free. Also, along with liking, be sure to comment below why you think Vivzie is less liked online. Outside of her mostly atrocious sense of humor and questionable hijacking of 2000s Hot Topic aesthetics, the issue with these rags to riches stories is that sometimes success can get to a person's head. So it should come as no surprise that one of the three creators, Vivziepop, although the most successful, has gained notoriety due to it. With a show funded by Amazon and an indie online series produced by A24, two relatively big production houses, this has somewhat enabled her to develop a inflated ego, you might say, despite how much she postures online that she's down to earth and chill. Now, while I've spoken fairly well of Vivzie in previous videos, I think if there's one critique of hers that proves to be the most abundantly real, it's that she is just not a very pleasant person. This doesn't just refer to her online tantrums, but also extends to her ability to direct others on productions. Of course, various people working under her claim she's in the clear, but this could easily be a case of them saving face due to work politics. Because let's be honest, the entertainment industry is not an easy one to break into. So when someone who worked with her explains that she was incredibly difficult, and then asked others who worked with her to just outright roast a show that was being made at the same time that was independent, it's hard to not feel skeptical of those who were defending her. These defenders often tended to be well established, whereas the person calling her out wasn't. Revealing all of her misdeeds could only realistically hurt them. By comparison, as of now, all that's known of Smiling Friends is that everyone absolutely adored working on it with Zach and Michael. From the online personality Zach persistently mocked on Oni Plays, the nostalgia critic,
Zach and Mike, they were just so nice. They were so nice.
To President Jimble's guest actor.
About them is they are the most down-to-earth, cool, great guys to draw, and they think outside the box. They treat me like comedy royalty.
Everyone has expressed nothing but love for the work they did as a part of the cast, even if they were the butt of the joke often more than not. And this isn't just limited to the actors, but also the animators who have shown nothing but love for everything they did on the show. So until somebody complains that they let Tomar out of his cage to harass people on site, Zach and Michael absolutely beat Vivzie on this end. And with 2 seasons under their belt, no less. Now for perhaps the juiciest part. The part I won't skimp on, as I feel it's only fair to speak this as honestly as possible. Both creators rely heavily on the internet for their fan bases, so it should come as no surprise that when all of them gained fame, not really including Michael as he's somewhat of a sweet cinnamon bun online, also dragged along a massive backlog of unflattering moments. Since I spent most of the first half grilling Vivzie, it's only fair to start this half by addressing some of Zach's more questionable moments. First, just addressing the elephant in the room, the whole Shadman thing. Just why? However, I personally believe he never defended Shad in good faith for anything involving vile internet actions. So now that elephant is out of the room, what really stands out more is that Zach has been incredibly edgy on the internet. Various videos by Zach have been pruned and then archived as though he didn't want anyone to find them. In addition, he humored certain hypotheticals that definitely wouldn't make it into an Oni Plays Best Of compilation. That said, Zach has wisely backed off from discussing politics unless it's to deliver a genuinely hilarious Trump impression that flat out mogged SNLs at the time.
Nobody will talk about the fact that there are witches, goblins, and
What?
Sasquatches out
Mr. President, this is a very unusual
true.
stance to take publicly.
Additionally, his animations being from many years ago very clearly don't reflect his current sensibilities. People change and grow, and Zach is no exception. Just think of the number of things that you probably posted online several years ago. Yeah, it's probably pretty cringe, in hindsight. Now this is probably where you're expecting some epic gotcha moment for Vivzie, right? Well, this is where things get weirdly similar between the two, as she too is known for some pretty problematic content, ranging from shipping characters with concerning age gaps, to once following a known transphobe and racist drift queen, Blair White, which as you can imagine wasn't exactly the best look for someone who was always pushing the envelope with her LGBTQ+ shows that she was producing. Lastly, she displayed a massive case of millennial brain rot when it comes to overreacting to haters online. All of that said, most, if not all of the accusations leveled at her have been proven false, and not only that, she no longer associates with Blair White at all either. And while many may argue she loses this round for being a frequent target of online ridicule, much of it stems from her reacting angrily to critiques of her work. At the end of the day, she can hardly be considered a full-blown lolcow. People like Boogie, for example, actively lean into self-sabotage, making a complete ass of themselves online, like a town drunk. To sustain their lifestyles, this is absolutely essential, whereas Vivzie, by contrast, is immensely successful with her Amazon series and indie YouTube show pulling impressive numbers. Those aren't accomplishments that are meaningless. If Vivzie comes off as a lolcow, it's simply because she's a terminally online millennial who engages in pointless arguments online for the fun of the game, basically. So, ultimately, it's pretty much a tie on this end. While Zach might have some questionable moments online, so does Vivzie. Both are probably equally controversial, but most of these controversies are essentially nothing burgers from years ago. Additionally, Vivzie's online presence, while occasionally cringe, isn't outright terrible. What ultimately brings Vivzie down and crowns both Zach and Michael as the king underdogs is that their workers absolutely adore them. While Vivzie's show might have their diehard fans defending her online, Zach and Michael don't need that. The work speaks for itself. Various animators have collaborated with them and had been fairly compensated. For Smiling Friends, the trade-off of shorter episode lengths meant they could funnel more resources into hiring top-tier talent to achieve the exact animations they wanted without placing excessive pressure on them to finish in a short amount of time, whereas Vivzie has plenty of allegations of overworking her animators. While it's true that Amazon allegedly pushed Vivzie into replacing much of her original voice cast, Zach went out of his way to hire animators who had worked on key moments and characters that were all friends of his from the internet, even if it cost him more since they weren't part of an actors guild, to the point in which they actually had to remove getting Chris Chan on the show because it would have cost them far too much because of them having other people join. Though there's no definitive proof yet of all the things Vivzie may have done to her workers, it's abundantly clear that Zach and Michael are the true kings of transitioning from humble beginnings to bigger stages. Where shows like Rick and Morty overstaff and hire numerous writers, Zach and Michael kept their small team, staying true to their internet animation roots. They've never lost sight of their origins and continue to treat their collaborators with absolute respect. And if they continue down this route without having any Justin Roiland moments behind the scenes, or overstaffing the show with too many cooks in the kitchen, Smiling Friends could truly be the next big thing on Adult Swim, totally proving those dumb Woody memes right.
You go, because I'm not saying like, well, make this person work overtime. I'm saying pay that person, give that person some of my money. I don't fucking need it, but pay them a little bit extra and really value them is what I'm saying. Really value some people and say, you are clearly somebody, you're irreplaceable.